Here it is. I am so excited. Oh yeah, look at that beauty. This is a 2018 Yamaha SR400, and I can't think of a modern motorcycle that looks this classic, this real, this chromed out. Holy smokes, look at this thing. And I bought this with just a couple of miles on it just this year in 2024. I love the midnight blue color, lots of style. I had a previous Yamaha SR400 in black and gray. Loved that bike. Unfortunately, I decided to sell it. Here's the return of the SR400 into my stable. Pay attention to all these details. Look at all the shiny chrome. Holy smokes, even the exhaust pipe. I mean, there's a chrome layer on that. It's not just polished stainless or anything like that. Look at these gauges. Totally analog, just from yesteryear. Currently, I've got 560 miles on it. I just love this thing. Kickstarting this bike is pretty cool. You'll notice there's a little window here. Underneath the clutch lever, you've got another lever, and that's actually a decompression lever. So you pull that and it opens up one of the valves, and that allows you to manually move this without any fear of the thing kicking back at you. Right here you can see that metal silver colored indicator right there, and it's right halfway, and you push it just a little bit further until it's fully solid, then you kick it. Let's do the kickstart. It usually takes me 2 tries, so we'll see what we get here. Kickstart only, absolutely no electric starter on this bike. It's as if it's a bike from the 1960s. Quick walk around with the motorcycle running. Old style headlight, turning signals, whole 9 yards. So cool. Super excited to ride this 2018 Yamaha SR400 today. This is an amazing bike. One of my dream bikes, actually. I've had this bike before, and I think it was a 2015, and it's got a lot of things going for it. It's a gorgeous looking motorcycle, all chromed out just like the old classics. Even when this was originally built in the 1970s, it was considered kind of retro. So the very fact that they continue making them, and I believe up through at least 2020, they're just an amazing bike to be able to buy one relatively brand new. 2018 was the last year that this Yamaha came to the United States. Hopefully they'll reintroduce it in the next couple of years, because it would be a shame not to have such a beautiful bike available. This is a true classic. Unlike some of the retro styled bikes, this is the real deal here. It's a 400cc single, so a thumper, probably has no counterbalancing balance shafts or anything crazy like that, so you get all the vibes through the bike. I'm riding 2-up today. Should be a lot of fun. One thing about the suspension, being an older style bike, it is pretty soft. So when you come off of a pretty hardcore bend and there's a little dip in the road, you'll have the tendency to scrape a couple of things. First thing down, generally on the right hand side, it feels like, is that center stand. So we'll probably modify this bike, give it a little bit more height. I do have the rear suspension dialed all the way up, just to prevent that kind of dip down. But overall, it's a pretty amazing bike. Get onto this 55 mile an hour road here. Now, the top speed of this bike is somewhere in the neighborhood of about 85 miles an hour, which is just about perfect. You really don't need a whole lot more power than this. We'll see where we go today. It's going to be a gorgeous ride. 66 degrees out here in Scott County, Kentucky. Red line on this is 7,000 RPM. Produces about 28 horsepower, maybe 20 to 22 horsepower at the rear wheel. It's pretty muted because of the catalytic converter in the exhaust pipe. we'll also see what we can do to enhance the sound later on as we modify this. I'm planning on making this kind of a flat track style. These SR400s and before that SR500s were used for flat track a lot of the time, and just, you know, it just kind of begs that style of option. So I'm going to put a couple of pseudo flat track tires on it. They're made by Dunlop. They're called the K180s. Now those tires for actual race, they still use something very similar, but they're a lot softer compound, so you can't really use them for very long on the streets. So in this particular case, we're going to use that harder compound but same tread style, and we'll see how that works. Now obviously, because it's a pretty aggressive tread, it's not going to have as much cornering grip, but again, this bike really can't corner over too hard before you start dragging the hard bits, so that works pretty good for me. Now again, those tires are going to be taller. I'm planning on 120 90/18s, both front and rear, which should, it'll slow down turning quite a bit, but it'll make it rock stable through the corners, which I kind of enjoy being two up, so I don't really need the hyper activity in the front, if you know what I mean. So we'll see how that feels. That was the kind of setup that the old SR400 that I used to have had, and man, you take off those mirrors as well and put on something different. Although looking at it, I'm not sure if you can see that, but these turn signals, the back of those turn signals are highly chrome polished, and in fact, those look like they'd work perfect as mirrors. Kind of an interesting fact. So I'll take a look at those and see if those are sufficient to allow me to see backwards. So far, they look like they'd be pretty worthwhile there. Probably going to change out the seat. So exhaust, seat, tires. I'll probably put a fork brace in there. I contacted Hughes hand built, and they make a pretty amazing little fork brace for the front to replace that fender, so it stiffens it up so there's no sort of twist in the front when you're hard on the corners. And because of the taller tires as well, I should have just a little bit more clearance, a little less weight from that exhaust as well. This is a pretty heavy exhaust on the stock bike. Now I have to be a little bit careful. It is fall, so you can see all the gravel on the road. I don't know what the deal is. It's not like it's snowed or anything like that, but they do throw gravel out. I don't know if that's just from driveways or whatnot, but late in the fall like this, gotta watch out for those corners. It'll get you, especially on these types of tires. These are original stock tires, so they're running a good 6 or 7 years old at this point. Not horribly old, but fairly old. Now I got this bike with almost no miles on it, which is amazing in 2024. I think the previous owner bought it, and you know, unfortunately he did pass away, and so his buddy got it as an inheritance gift, and the buddy doesn't like this particular style of motorcycle, so he figured that his spirit would be best served selling the bike and getting something that he'd enjoy on the road, so that's what he was doing. And again, the sound, not so lively right now, but once I throw exhaust on there, it'll liven things up. It'll have a deeper sound to that, and I'll run you through the process. It also has air injection for emissions. I'm probably going to have to do something about that so it doesn't backfire on decel, right? That's what happens when you sometimes have these fuel injected bikes. And really, fuel injection is the only major change from all the way back in the 70s, if you can believe that. The older bikes were carbureted. They decided the reliability of fuel injection beat all, and of course you saw the kickstart, which makes this bike absolutely unique. I don't think there is or has been a commercially available bike with only a kickstart for the streets in decades. So that's pretty amazing. Now, the feel of this bike, it is planted, and it does have a soft suspension, so again, you don't want to hammer those front brakes right away in a hard stop. You want to start up with the rear brakes, start to compress those front forks, and then bring on the front brake power after that and go up to 100%. So you go about 100% on the front and probably about 40 or 50% on the rear in a hard stop, and that'll get you the maximum stopping on this bike. But for 2-up riding, you know, it's such a beautiful, sexy bike. You know, you just feel like you can conquer it all, and it's small and lightweight, fully wet. In other words, ready to ride. 384 pounds, full gas tank. Pretty lightweight bike. Once I get rid of removing some of the heavier parts on it, it'll probably be in the 360 pound range, which, you know, for me is just about the right weight. I wouldn't want, I've had many motorcycles. I think you saw me do the review on the Moto Guzzi, which was over 400 pounds, 434 I think, or 436. It gets a little porkly, right? And you feel that extra 50 pounds. It definitely is there. Plus, this bike is relatively low down, and it's not a cruiser, so your feet aren't in front of you, so you still feel sporty enough to take the corners as hard as you want to. Along with the warning, left-hand side, I do touch down, or have touched down a couple of times. Again, hard left turn into a dip, and I'll touch that left peg just ever so slightly, letting you know that you're approaching the maximum angle before sliding the hard parts. I really don't like hitting the center stand, and so the center stand's going to have to go, because I'd much rather touch the pegs first. That's what it's designed for. But again, if you compress the suspension in a corner with the center stand laying as low as it does, you're going to be able to touch that down. So anyway, we're a beautiful day out here in Kentucky. Love this bike. I'm going to go explore a new route that I have not been on before. I've been on part of it. It's kind of like a mini tail of the dragon, let's call it, just for fun. Lots and lots of corners, but there's a side road that goes off to the right. So I'm going to start filming again once I get to that point. All right, we're getting pretty close to our turnoff for that road I'd like to explore. You can see this beautiful Kentucky road. Nice, beautiful sweeping corners here. Some are pretty blind, so you have to be very careful going into them. Make sure that you leave lots of stopping distance. Obviously, the smoother the better on all this stuff. So rolling on and off the throttle, pulling in the little bit of trail braking perhaps. Just smooth as it goes. It's a beautiful road. Just love it. Here's my turn off. Go exploring, love it. That's what these bikes are for. Make sure there's not gravel. See, I felt a little bit of gravel right there. Every turn off during the fall, gotta watch that front end. I'm wondering if those K180s from Dunlop are going to be a little bit better on those types of gravel on dirt, or gravel on asphalt. Guess we're going to find out here. Oh yeah, look at this road. Yeah, so beautiful. Just love it. I don't know if there are roads more pretty than in Kentucky. I know North Carolina does, Tennessee does, but gosh, these winding roads through the hills. What could be better than that, you know? Lots of ups and downs. You look off to our right. Oh, just beautiful. Definitely the type of thing you want to take 2 up, just so your passenger can enjoy something like this. Yeah, so in summary, I really love this Yamaha SR400 in stock form. Amazing. Of course, you know, it's like the perfect base to build whatever you want. You want to build a scrambler, you want to build a street fighter, you want to build a flat tracker. It's just good bones. And that sound of the motor is going to sound pretty sweet here in a couple of days when I put that new exhaust in. And again, a little bit more stability in the corners will be good. A little bit more clearance so I don't rub things as much. And hopefully, if those K180s come through for me, won't have to worry about the gravel quite as much. Now, the reason I'm thinking that is I'm hoping the tire will flex a little bit more and the gravel kind of will get caught to the side so that I still have rubber on the ground, as opposed to these relatively narrow tires that this bike came with. I believe they're 90-100s, so 90/100-18s. So pretty skinny, pretty tall profile, but you get a piece of gravel under the front and it lifts the tire completely off the ground, which, then you're on gravel. Gravel on asphalt doesn't have that much grip. It's all good though. That's kind of the styling that those bikes had. And the reason that you have a skinnier tire up front and wider tire at back is the further into the corner you lean the bike, the harder the bike turns. That's kind of how it works. So it's ever decreasing radius. So if you get into trouble, you just lean the bike a little bit more. So I do have to consider that when I'm going to matched front and rear. I won't have that extra benefit, but you set up your lines properly, it should be a beautiful ride. Figured I'd give you a little thrill here. 6,500 RPM. You can see on my gauge here it says about 84. I'm guessing it's actually going to be right around 80 miles per hour. GPS indicated maybe even a little bit less as I'm going up the hill now. Getting the flats, we'll see how we do. But good enough for pretty much any freeway cruising. So yeah, it got the goods. Even up this hill, I think we're still at about 70 miles an hour. 2 up again. So we're running a little bit on the heavier side than just a single, plus more air resistance. We'll start to pick up here again. Yeah, it's just about the perfect engine size for anything that you need to do. It gets up and goes, gets up to speed before you hit the freeway, and it has a reasonable top speed on it as well on the flats. We're going a little bit downhill here, so we're probably picking up a little bit of steam. But pretty much just staying with traffic here. Looks like I haven't secured my left mirror. I was kind of playing around with them, so I didn't tighten it down quite right, so kind of have to flip that up to look behind us. But yeah, such is the ways with motorcycles. Got to get them all perfectly set up before you go. I was going to adjust them to tighten them down, but failed to do so. So here we are on the flats again, probably right around 80 miles an hour. Good motorcycle. And again, this is with the stock exhaust, full catalytic converter. Pretty restrictive, I'm guessing, as far as that's concerned. Obviously, you've got the mirrors and the additional air resistance. I'm not in any sort of tuck position, fully upright, and just cruising down the freeway here, making our way back from our beautiful ride in the countryside. Let you guys enjoy this for just a minute longer before I conclude this video. But even here in November, mid-November 2024, can have a beautiful ride, 66 degrees here in Kentucky, Scott County area. I'm not sure if I'm currently in Scott County any longer. I went pretty far north, but yeah, if you have any comments or questions, or if you've personally owned a Yamaha SR400, let me know in the comments what you think. What would you do? Tell me about your modifications, because that's kind of what I'm headed into right now, thinking about sound and tires and clearance and all the rest. But I think that flat tracker, pure American racing type look is what I'm looking for. What turned me on to that look, there's a kind of a custom builder who take Harleys, and I think this was a 1200 cc, the standard motorcycle that they make there, and just put on a custom tank and the exhaust and the flat track tires, and it really really was a knockout, then gorgeous bike. So that's where I'm headed. Okay, well, see you next time. Thanks a lot for watching, and good riding to you. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and yeehaw!